Welcome to the Dance Lens podcast, where we take a deep dive on all things dance. We'll look at how the art form is woven into politics, history, and cultural developments, and we'll draw back the curtain on the lives of the artists in conversations with dancers, choreographers, directors, set and costume designers, and more. If you're in the industry or a curious listener, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Cynthia Dragoni. Thanks for listening and enjoy. I am here today with principal ballerina Madeline Woo from Royal Swedish Ballet, which, if you don't know, is one of the best ballet companies in the world. So very exciting.
Sorry, Mike.
I'm so curious. Could you tell us a little bit about what your path was, going from California to Sweden?
Right. So yeah, I started out in California. I studied under Victor and Tatiana Kasatsky in this little studio in Laguna Hills. And yeah, I was working with them from when I was, I want to say like 6 until I left home around 15 years old. And so when I was working with them, we were going to competitions all the time, like YGP, Prix de Lausanne, all that jazz. And so eventually I got a scholarship, or I was accepted into the John Cranko School. And yeah, so the John Cranko School is in Stuttgart, Germany. It's a great school. I studied there for 2 years I studied there for 2 years in the academy. And then, yeah, so after that, I graduated and I started auditioning around. I kind of just sent out my CV everywhere, like when you're in school, you kind of just will take anything you can get. So yeah, I was like desperately trying to audition. I got a lot of rejections, not gonna lie. But then I came to Sweden. I went to the open audition and yeah, I made it through. They offered me a contract. I fell in love with like the city and the company, and I was so in awe of everything. And yeah, of course I accepted. And yeah, I've been there ever since.
I think, well, first of all, if anyone's in the audience who doesn't know what the Prix de Lausanne is, it's one of the most prestigious ballet competitions in the world. And it's way older than YAGP. And I saw that you won a prize at Prix de Lausanne, right? Did I understand that?
No, I actually didn't even get into the finals.
Which makes the story even better, frankly.
Even if you fail at competitions when you're starting out, it doesn't mean anything. It's not like your career's over. Yeah, just keep pushing on. Don't be discouraged. It's humbling for sure, but yeah, just keep going.
Which is ironic, right? Because I feel like there's an air of dancers being seen as, that connection with royalty, and even historically the connection with royalty and like elitism and money and all of that stuff. But parallel to that, it's like showing up in the studio every day, failing.
Yeah.
Getting rejected.
Not being afraid to just look terrible and just keep not getting discouraged, keep on going. And it's hard every single day to be hard on yourself and see that.
And to be willing to go through it. Did you ever take class in New York with Willie Berman?
Yes, I did. It was actually right before he passed. So I was really lucky to have, gotten a class in before.
Because you talking about your experiences makes me think of, he used to go on and on about how you had to be willing to be ugly. You have to pass through that.
Oh my gosh, when I took his class, I definitely looked ugly. Oh my God, his class was amazing, but it's just it's very they're set. They all know what they're doing. He kind of gives an exercise ba 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 ba. Everyone gets it so quick. And I was just so lost, and just flailing behind everyone, looking beautiful. And yeah, that was also humbling for sure.
It makes the story better because you're just exquisite. And it's really fun to see the success, and then not all stories are and then I won this and I got accepted everywhere, and to still really you're at the top of your feet,
It's great to, I guess people can see from my experiences that there can be so many failures along the way, so many moments of not feeling good about yourself, really feeling like maybe this isn't the path for me. But yeah, if you keep going, it's really like you can make it. It doesn't mean anything about you as a dancer. It doesn't mean your worth is any less. It's just believe in yourself. I know that sounds so cheesy.
I know you said that you auditioned for a lot of places. Did you always want to work abroad? I find that a lot of dancers, especially with super classical training, like you obviously had at your school, that it's kind of a plan from the beginning that, either I'll go into ABT or I'm going to leave the country. Was
Yeah,
that
for some
similar?
reason, that was always like a thing. It wasn't an option of staying home or leaving. It was just like you're always like, if you want to go into ballet, you're going to have to leave like at a pretty early age. And I don't know, I didn't really question it at the time, but I'm actually really glad that I did. I was pretty reluctant to leave because I love feeling safe and comfortable. So that was very out of my comfort zone to leave home, leave my family, leave all my friends in California. But it was definitely one of the best things I could have done. It really helped actually my relationship with my family and my friends and my sister by leaving and yeah, finally like appreciating everything they do for me because like when you leave home for the first time, like you got to make your own food, you got to do your own laundry, you got to clean, you got to, yeah, do all that. And it's hard to have to be an adult when you're so young and you don't know anything and you're so naive and it's hard and no one's there to really like raise you. They can do as much as they can, but you're really like independent. But I think it's a great push. It really helps you mature so fast.
Yeah. And, I feel like even if you're not thinking of yourself as someone who wants to feel safe, it's like at 15 years old, we all want to feel safe, even if you have an inner
Yeah.
adventurer, but like not everybody listening may know that that's pretty common for dancers to leave home sometimes even a little earlier than that, like really anywhere between 14 and above is normal, sometimes earlier, but I feel like it goes way
Yeah.
up 14 plus 14 to 16, like already out the
Yeah,
door.
for sure.
What about at so the Cranko School is one of the best schools in the world, in my opinion.
Yes, I think so as well. Maybe I'm a little biased, but yeah, I love that school.
Did you find, and I mean, you obviously already had great training. Were there huge differences that jumped out at you from your school to the Cranko?
I mean, I didn't grow up in a professional ballet school, so to jump into the professional world was definitely a shock. There's proper etiquette, such as like you got to be in class before class starts, like a while before to warm up. And this was confusing to me because I always saw class as a warm up. So, so I was like, why? Yeah, why are there two warm ups? So I'd always be called like late, even if I was there at least 20 minutes before, and I just couldn't wrap my head around it. But it's like stuff like this where it's like, yeah, class is like almost like the rehearsal because you're preparing for the exam and you have to be like really warm, you have to be turned out, everything. And so this was a shock. American training is very, very much for entertainment. I feel like it's very like to wow you. So we learn from such a young age to do these like big tricks and stuff like fortes, big jumps, everything from a young age. And yeah, it's great in one way because you're able to just do it. You have the coordination for it and it's not a problem in the future. But also I think we lacked some refinement, the clarity of like steps, the proper positioning. And I feel like when I went to John Cranko, that really honed my awareness of that. So yeah, a little bit of both. I think it was great.
It's funny the way that shows up because I think part of that, well, let me rephrase, I know part of that is connected to just like even, the most ethical, purely motivated teacher in the US really has to deal with the capitalistic side of it from day one. And I think that consciously or unconsciously, it shows up in the training. It's like you use the word entertainment first. It's like to sell even the technique or the ticket. Like that's a conversation from day one. So then it actually changes the dancer when they're already supported and we don't need to worry about wowing either the parents or the audience
Yeah,
from day
totally,
one, you
totally.
know?
It's totally different to also like not have to worry about paying for your own dance wear, for your own point shoes, which are so expensive, like $100 per pair. And we go through them like, I mean, now I go through them in like maybe a couple days, sometimes a week, depending on the repertoire. But yeah, before I'd have to like keep the same pair. I wouldn't do anything to them to break it because I'd try to make it last as long as I possibly can, maybe like for a month, and that's like crazy to me now. But yeah, that's problems that we had to deal with before.
And that's something that's really funny for people to hear because, for dancers, it's like, wow, your point shoes lasted you a month. That's amazing. But like for normal shoes, if you spend $100 or $150 on them and they only last a month, you would be like,
Usually, yeah, a pair of sneakers.
you know,
Like, imagine. Yeah, it's so funny how skewed our perception is.
yeah, I know. For normal shoes, it's like, well, I'm going to invest and they'll last me 5 years on my $150
It's
pair,
actually so
right?
true. Yeah. Yeah.
I'll have high heels for every event for the next decade.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I actually didn't think about that. Like I have my eye on a pair of like these boots that are like $300 and I'm like, no way. But then if I think about it, I go through $300 in point shoes in like a week. Like
Go get your boots and
I know
post it
I
on
should. I
Instagram. I want to see
should.
them.
Oh my God. Yeah, this will give me an excuse.
Now we're all going to be
In
invested
these
in these
boots.
boots. We
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
see them.
I'll give the people what they want and me what I want.
You said in the beginning that you really fell in love with the city. What are some of the cultural differences that jump out at you either inside or out of the studio? Just things that come to mind or was there anything that you needed to get used to?
Right. So in Sweden, I feel like it has the perks of, the big city bustle and everything, but it's so clean. I love the cleanliness of the city. Everything works how you want it. Like the metro comes like right on time most of the time. They have buses and like different things to take you anywhere you want to go, like pretty far out in the city. And it just works the way you want it, and it's great. And like I've been to other cities and I come back like just like, oh, thank God, like it works. And yeah, there's like there's this like we're in an archipelago, so there's water everywhere. It's so aesthetic, it's so picturesque. And yeah, but okay, there's something about the weather in Sweden because we are so far north. It is just the most beautiful city on the planet in the summer. And then you come in winter and it gets dark at 2. We're eating lunch in the canteen and we're watching the sunset. And that's definitely something that a lot of people here struggle with. The seasonal depression is so real. Yeah, coming here, I really realized how much I took the sun in California for granted. I've never actually seen snow before. I've never even seen seasons in general. So this was definitely a shock. Not to be underrated, but yeah. And then in the company, yeah, it's great. We have a very strong union. There's very strict working hours for all employees in Sweden. We're very taken care of. However, we are currently going through this salary negotiation because the ballet section at Kungliga Operan is very underpaid compared to the other sections of the house that have very comparable tiers. And so, yeah, we're currently fighting for that, and hopefully we'll have a positive result. We'll see. And I know that ballet people in companies all over the world are going through problems being underpaid.
It's really a big part of the conversation right now. Like ABT just almost went on strike. They approved a strike and, sorted it out in the last minute. And I mean, arts funding, as you know, in the US is negligible next to many other countries, even just person to if you're measuring
Yeah.
like per person, how much arts there is, it's really a fraction, a startling, egregiously
Yeah.
small fraction compared to France, Germany. I haven't seen for Sweden, but it's probably
Yes, it's
something
probably.
comparable. Even with that said, you still see like it's pretty surprising, because the salaries, et cetera, are public records because they're nonprofit. So you can just look it up. And then you have like the director at Boston Ballet making over 600 grand a year. And then the dancers, I mean, not that people shouldn't get paid well, they should, but it's like, if we're going to cry about how, well, you don't get paid well because there's no money, I'm sort of like, I don't know, guys. I think you need to. A few of your fan questions were, what's your favorite role that you've danced?
Yeah. So it's hard to choose for sure, but I think my favorite thing so far has been to dance Julia in Julia and Romeo. That was definitely an eye opener, not just the performances themselves or the character herself, but to work with Mats. Mats and Anna, his wife, it was so transformative in the way that I approach rehearsal processes now. Usually as a dancer, or at least personally, I love to learn the choreography, get all that sorted out, and then I put in the artistry. But he would not let me continue if I didn't have the artistry there. Like that was the priority. And it's so counterintuitive because it's like, how can I like put out this character while I still don't know the steps yet? But it's like this crazy way of working. You never practice the choreography without doing it correctly, basically, or the way that the character he wants you to emulate. And it was really amazing. He really just like to emphasize that over everything else was, and in the end that's what is the most important thing, I think, to make the audience feel something, to get the story across, to really like dive into the character. It's more acting, I think, to try to like really like put yourself into it, and that was really, really immersive, really fun. And then for the classical side, I think my favorite role so far has been Manon by Sir Kenneth Macmillan. It was, I love dramatic ballets. It was my first one ever. And to dance ballet, not just the classical version, not to just be, unfortunately, usually it's the beautiful, kind of weak female protagonist, which is saved by the man. So it was kind of nice to play a more dramatic, more like it felt more real in the way that it wasn't just a fairy tale,
Yeah, well, and it's interesting because both of the roles that you're talking about, we're really talking about the same thing, the storytelling and that depth of the journey character. It's the same. And for anybody who's listening who doesn't know what you were saying, how normally you learn the steps and then not insert, but overlay the artistry, weave it together. And that's the standard process. So it's actually quite unusual to be asked to be artistic from moment number one. And it's the same with other art forms. Like if you're an actress or playing the violin, you learn the notes first, and then we're going to talk about musical dynamics. So to be asked for all of that from moment number one, that process is really, really different. It's like, could be its own podcast.
Totally. I could dive into this for sure.
Awesome. And then, this one I love. So, and I agree with this. It's such a massive accomplishment and really a dream come true to be a principal dancer, a principal ballerina in a major company. What about your goals for yourself now? Have they evolved? Are you, because it's like, as a dancer, we spend all of those years as a student, like hoping that you'll make it. And then there's that stressful window when you're auditioning and not knowing if it'll happen. And then it's like you get into the company, maybe you get promoted, maybe you don't. It's like 15 years of striving. and then you quote unquote arrive. What's that internal process like for you? What are your goals now?
I mean, to be honest, like, yes, it's so amazing and validating to feel like appreciated for your hard work that you've worked for your entire life as a professional. But I don't think my goals have really changed too much in the way that I just want to keep striving for more. I don't want to get complacent and be like, okay, like I made it, ride the way through. I definitely want to continue to improve in any way that I can. I would love to tour a bit more or like travel the world doing hopefully some galas and yeah, meet a bunch of people, get inspired by more and more people. I would love to, or I think my favorite process as a professional is to work with the choreographer themselves and dive into their style, the way they think and yeah, work with them.
I was just curious because especially, not all dancers are as interested even in the depth of the characters, like what you were saying with and Manon, like that creative, really that creative process of like making the story and making the character. It's not necessarily for everyone. If you weren't a dancer, is there an avenue that you would have imagined for yourself? Another avenue that you would have imagined taking?
To be honest, not really. When I was young, it was literally just like, you're going to be a ballerina or you're going to be nothing. Like that was it for me. Like maybe when I was very young, I wanted to be like an artist or something. But yeah, from a very young age, I was just very set on this idea of being a professional dancer. And yeah, that was really all I focused on. But yeah, obviously, I don't know. I don't know if I recommend that to anyone, but yeah, thankfully in my case it worked.
The fact is that in ballet life, if you're going to split your attention, you will guarantee that you won't make it. Totally focusing your attention won't guarantee that you will, but splitting your attention will guarantee that you won't. So it's like, you really have to jump into the lava pit and then you can always make
Yeah,
another
it's
decision.
never too late to change paths, of course. But yeah, I think the dance world is very demanding. It is, I mean, what do people say? It's not just a job, it's a lifestyle. That it's very, yeah, it is. It's really just a lifestyle. You have to dedicate so much time, that you could be spending with your friends or something. No, you have to go to the studio after work or no, not after work, after school. And like, yeah, you go and you dance until like what, 9 or 10, and then do your homework in the car. And then, there's no like extracurricular activities after school or anything when you're growing up. So it is definitely a huge sacrifice to take.
I think it's a sacrifice not to take it.
That's also true. Yeah.
Our lives are with it. It's like we choose what we give up.
Yeah, for sure.
Your story is so inspiring and you're dancing. Oh my gosh. You're just incredible. I hope I get to see you perform in person. But it's really, really exciting. Like there was a nuance, even in the steps that don't necessarily require a nuance. So yeah, it was just, there was a depth that came through immediately. So I would be really excited to see you in ballets with the characters and with that full
Thank you.
picture.
Please let me know if you're ever in Sweden or.
What advice would you have for young dancers who are aspiring to walk in your shoes?
Something that really helped me grow as a professional, or maybe just in general, is to really trust yourself. Do not be afraid to really commit to what you want to do, to what you want to put out. Don't be afraid to look like you're putting in effort. Because I know something that really like I can't understand about myself when I was younger is that I would be so self-conscious. I wouldn't want anyone to know that I am trying for some reason. It's kind of like the same thing as like it's looked down upon to get good grades, like you're a nerd or something. Like in the ballet world somehow, like I don't know, it's like not cool or something. And no, like it's so cool if you put in the work. It's so cool if you yeah, commit to the artistry, commit to the movement, and yeah, it'll look great. It'll look amazing. Yeah, don't be afraid to look bad. Don't be afraid to, yeah, fail. Just go for it.
It's like a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah, you can
layered
apply it
meanings
to so
there,
many
you know?
different concepts, so many different things. But yeah, I think that's a huge thing that I wish I did a lot earlier.
Well, I love that. I love that. And I agree with you. Madeline, thank you so much for coming on with us.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm so happy.
It's my pleasure. And I can't wait to see you on stage. Thank you so much for listening. And if you enjoyed this, please subscribe to the podcast. And if you want more dance content, you can follow me on TikTok and YouTube at Cynthia Dragoni Dance, or sign up for the email list at cynthiadragoni.dance. I'll leave you with this quote from the revolutionary choreographer Martha Graham. One does not choose to be a dancer. One is chosen. And with that, you live all your life. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next week on the Dance Lens podcast. Bye-bye.